Our 3-day workshop
Okay.
is an interactive workshop, and I'll be speaking mostly in English, if that's okay with you. Atsushi, I'll introduce you in a moment, will be here in case I run into problems with language. So if anybody has any uh, concerns about language, please let us know, and then we can easily make adjustments, okay? So if there's anything that comes up. On day 3, we are going to have you come out with a loaf of dough that looks something like this. It's a sourdough bread coming out of your oven. And it will not look exactly like this because everybody's bread is
I'm
different.
confused.
Um, but on day 3 of our sourdough workshop, uh, this is something like what will come out of your oven. And it's going to be uh, a beautiful loaf that has a nice crumb inside. And it, I think it will smell good and taste good. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing together. And out of your oven, you'll find something like this emerging. And so day 2 will be spent mainly mixing and conditioning the dough so that it will come out looking like this. Today is day 1, and I want to start by having you look at this. Uh, I mixed flour and water and salt, all the ingredients that went into this, uh, in a, and baked it in the oven. And this is what it looks like. It's hard, and my wife Linda and I had a good laugh because we tried to make it not delicious, but it turned out delicious anyway. But I hope you can see a great difference. It's very compact, it's very solid, uh, and very different from this that will come out of your oven. We're going to be working with the starter uh, seed that came in your starter kit, and we'll be feeding this, and we'll be giving it a rest every now and then in order that instead of this coming out of your oven, we'll have something uh, beautiful and good smelling that looks like this. Uh, and so uh, you might be wondering uh, whether 3 days of work is going to be uh, uh, something that is valuable when it comes out looking only like one loaf of bread. But I assure you that it's not so bad as it might sound. I want to start with taking the starter kit that everybody has and pulling out some items and working with that. So can everybody bring their starter kit out? And we'll we'll work with this right away. And then any questions that you might have, any concerns, we'll address in just a moment. I'm going to be pulling out this Ziploc bag. Oh, okay, everybody got that? And if you would prepare some kind of mixing bowl and spoon. Good, 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 good. Yes, yes. Okay. I'm going to uh, I'm going to use the spoon to put it into the mixing bowl. And while you're getting out supplies, you'll also need today some kind of scale. It could be a digital scale like this, but we're going to weigh our ingredients. And so you might, supplies. Is there a question? Okay. Everybody okay? So something like a digital scale or it could be an
先
analog.
生、excuse me, sorry.
Yes.
すみません、皆様に。ちょっと一回全員ミュートにしていただいて、and 質問があるときだけ外して声出してもらえますか？普通の生活音も入ってしまうので。Thank you. ありがとうございます。So, now, all of us are muted. But when we have something to say, I will off the mute.
Wow. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay. In a moment, I'll introduce the people who appear every now and then behind the scenes, behind me, on the side of me, and I'll introduce them in a moment. Oh, see, like this kind of hand over here suddenly appears. I'll introduce the owners of that hand. But okay, see, he appeared again. So every now and then there's this ghost that appears. So I'll introduce him in a moment, but I want to get started with mixing the starter seed that's in this Ziploc bag with water and flour. And in a moment, we'll do that together. So would you now take your spoon and take out the starter seed from the Ziploc bag and put it into the mixing bowl. You don't have to get everything out, but do as good a job as you can of getting as much as you can out of the bag and into the bowl. There's more than enough, even if there's some clinging to the side of the Ziploc bag. So no problem if any remains. Okay, but we're putting that now into the mixing bowl. Okay, what?
すみません。この which side would be better? Like a bigger one?
Small bowl is better for this operation.
This one. Okay.
Was that your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow, good. We're testing out the question and answer functions. Good. Okay, so it might take a little bit of time to get as much as you can out of the Ziploc bag. Don't worry. Don't worry if you can't get all of it out. This you don't have to do on your own. This is just for workshop purposes, just for learning. Don't worry if it's a little inefficient now. Okay, so I still have, as you can see, I can still have quite a quantity inside the Ziploc bag, but that's okay. That's okay. We don't need this Ziploc bag anymore. And I'll put this to the side. And as you can see, all I have is a little bit of starter seed in this mixing bowl. And that's fine, that's plenty. I'm now going to ask you to take your scale and put everything onto the scale and press the 0. Oh, first you need to have the mode set to measuring grams. So look to make sure that you're measuring grams on your scale and put everything, including the spoon, onto the scale and press the 0 button if you have a 0 button, so that we can start measuring the weight of the ingredients that we put in from this point on. So have you used that button before? We want to come out with 0 on the scale. Are we all there together? Okay, I see some shaka signs. Thank you, Hitomi.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we're all there together.
Yeah.
I'm going to now measure out 45 grams of water. I have water here, and I'm going to measure 45 grams into the mixing bowl now.
Yay!
45. They give me 5. Okay. Okay. Little joys here. Okay. So we have 45 grams of water in the mixing bowl now, and I'm going to stir in the starter seed into the water a little bit to get it loosened. So I'll be doing that every time generally. Whenever I put in starter, I mix it with the water first before putting in anything else. So how are we doing there? Okay. In a moment, I'll check to see how we're doing, but here I'm preparing for the next step. Those of you who are still working on the water ingredient, that's okay. Keep on going. Don't worry. I'm going to take a scoop and put it into my flour here to get ready for the next step. So far, so good. Does anybody have any questions? You can raise your hand with the raise hand function if you have any questions at any time. And then Nana is going to keep a close eye for any hand signals, right? Anybody have any? Oh, okay, I've got a thumbs up signal. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mommy. Okay, I'm going to start the next step, and if you're still working on the previous step, don't worry. I'm going to zero out the scale once more. I'm going to press the 0 button on my scale and make it come out to 0, still measuring grams. So I have 0 grams here for my mixing bowl and ingredients and the spoon. And I'm going to now measure out 45 grams of flour. So just as I measured 45 grams of water a moment ago, I'm going to add flour until it reaches the 45 gram mark.
10 more.
10 more grams.
One more.
Jamie-san has something.
Okay.
Metal balls and metal whisk, or plastic balls and plastic whisks.
I'm using plastic bowl and whisk and spoon, but it doesn't matter at this point. The amounts that we're using right now are too small, I believe, for that kind of difference to mean anything. So you can use a metal bowl, you can use a metal whisk at this point. You can use chilled starter seed at this point. It's okay because the amounts are going to be very small in comparison to the later dough. But it's a good question. Maybe later on, you might wonder what kind of materials you should use for the sourdough. Sourdough does have an acid level that develops later on. At this point, it should be very, very low, however. But as acid level rises, you might be concerned about your utensils more. But at this point, no problem. So I think we're off to a good start. Let's see. I'm going to now mix this together. The flour that we measured goes in with the water that we measured, that goes in with all of the starter seed that we initially had in our starter kit. And I'm using the spoon now to distribute the water evenly. You don't have to have any special technique here. We just want a thorough mixing because as any dry bits of flour remain, it's going to be hard to mix in later. So at every step, mix in thoroughly to get the dough saturated with water. So I'm mixing it, as you can see, fairly thoroughly, but I don't feel like I'm working really hard. I'm just doing an even job, making sure that I get all the bits of little lumps.
Robin Sensei.
Yes, Nana.
Jamie-san has a question.
Good. What is your question?
Jamie-san, どうぞどうぞ。Jamie, can you off the mute?
Sorry. I was typing the question, so I didn't hear how much flour you put in.
45
and
grams of
45
flour, 45 grams of water. The main point is that we have even amounts of flour and water by weight in our feeding of the starter seed. So 45 grams, 45 grams.
Okay, thank you.
Can you take a shot of day one?
Sure. This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Our roving camera is taking a photo. Day one. To starter seed, add water 45 grams, flour 45 grams. Okay, thank you, Chiemi. I should have thought of that earlier to have you look at the written numbers. So thanks to our roving camera, we're doing. So everybody all set?
Yep.
I'm going to now take a little jar, small like this, enough to accommodate the mixture that we have, and possibly more. Maybe this jar is a little too small. Hold on. I'm going to get a little bigger jar. Okay, I changed my mind, folks. Okay, I have a slightly larger jar, and we want a jar has fairly straight sides, as this one does. Can you see the sides fairly straight? And it's fairly small jar. Good. Yes. Tomoko, that's perfect. Yes. Oh, good. Yeah. Okay, good. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this jar and this starter dough, this starter in your mixing bowl, as a kind of clock. I'll show you in a moment what I mean by clock. Okay, so I'm going to pour the contents of a mixing bowl into the jar right now. Okay. Okay. Um, if you have some left in your mixing bowl, that's okay. It does not matter. What matters is the proportion, not so much the amounts. Yeah. So I have my jar of our starter seed mixed in with the flour and water solution. For those of you who are ready, our next step is to take a rubber band. So if you have a rubber band, elastic band, yes, this is not hugely important, but fairly important. So if you have a rubber band, let me get my rubber band here. I'm going to place the rubber band around the jar, right at the level of the starter dough that we have so far. And this rubber band is going to be our clock. If you do not have a rubber band, a magic marker or a crayon will do, or a piece of tape will do. And it's also okay to just memorize, just remember where the level of your starter dough is right at this point. This starter dough that we have right now is going to expand. It's going to get bigger in about 2 or maybe 3 hours. Good. Your starter should rise above the level of the rubber band. And over the course of several hours, if we left it at room temperature, just standing and sitting by itself, it could go 3 times if the starter seed is active. But this starter seed is probably going to double in size in about 2 or 3 hours. So maybe about 1 o'clock or so. But the reason I think that this rubber band is important for us now is that we're going to shift from clock time to dough time, to the time that is measured by the rise of this starter dough that we have, this starter seed that we have in our jar. I'm going to take a cover of some kind and just cover the jar like this, set it down on the counter at room temperature. Oh, was there a question? Oh, yes, that's a good cover. Good. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tomoko. Oh, good. And if you have a real well-fitting cover, yeah, put it on. You don't have to screw it on tightly, but even if you did screw it on tightly, it wouldn't matter too much in quantities.
Do they need air?
It does not need air.
Oh, okay.
there's enough oxygen in here to satisfy the yeast. Interesting question, though. Please.
Sensei from Mami-san,
Yes.
is that okay if something is stick to the wall
Oh,
also?
yeah, yeah,
Inside that, there.
Good.
Can you see that?
Good, good, good. Oh, thank you, mommy. Yes, 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 that's fine. No problem. And I'm happy that you asked that because that happens to everybody, and everybody will want to know the same thing. And that makes this interactive Zoom session very worthwhile if you ask questions like that. Thank you, mommy, and thank you, Nana, for catching that. Okay, we have now come to the end of our workshop day 1. You're finished. You're done. So let me go over what we've done so far, and then we can talk about who we are, and we can answer questions and talk about the next step after we have put our lid on the starter mixture. Okay. But first, I want to make sure that we're all there together. Here we are at this stage in which we have a rubber band or some kind of marker indicating the level of our present state of the starter mixture. And we have a cover on that, yeah? And we're setting this at room temperature, and we're going to wait for a while. I'll talk about what we're waiting for. It's going in a moment, and what we'll do at that point. But so far, for this Zoom session, we're finished. Okay.
Sensei, what can we do after 2 or 3 hours and the dough is rising to double?
Okay.
Do I have to set that in the refrigerator?
Yes, that's right. And can you remember that question to ask again, please? Even if everybody knows the answer, that yes, that's what we're going to do. When it doubles, we're going to put it in the refrigerator. But can you ask that question one more time, Nana, a little later? No, don't forget, okay? Okay, so I want to, Nana, can you help me? I want to check with each person whether they have come to this point without any problems. Can you help me do that one by one? Each person. Nana, can you see the gallery of everybody?
Yes, I can see that. So, 皆様、できた銅を見せていただけますか？イエーイ、イエーイ。
Oh, okay.
Okay, so,
Good. Yeah.
alright. 純子さんは今ね見てるだけだけど、また後で。
Good, good, good. Okay. Yeah. And then, oh, Junko-san, your smile is plenty. Yeah, that's no worry. That's very good. Okay. So I'm going to go to the next part of today's session, which is really not important for those who are just coming here to learn what to do to make a sourdough bread. The next part of the session, I want to introduce that person who's been appearing every now and then. And so how do we do this? Can you?
No, I can come.
So
next to
this is Atsushi, the one who makes all this photography and everything possible. And sometimes he looks like a ghost
you.
because he appears all of a sudden. Can you see Atsushi? Okay, Atsushi Takebayashi. Okay, Atsushi.
Hi.
Yes. All right. Can you say hello to everybody and tell them who you are and what you're doing in this whole Zoom workshop?
皆さん、毎度おなじみの。
毎
どうですか、楽しんでますか？
度。well, Atsushi
明
is
日が
there.
長いのでね、ぜひ、頑張ってやりましょう。私は裏方やってますんで、はい、よろしく。
Typical Atsushi. And then Nana, you are also hosting our series of workshops, especially today's workshop. Can you say a few words to everybody?
はい、どうも皆様お疲れ様です。And E メールなどのやり取りをやっております。PR と E メールのやり取りが私の今回の仕事かと思っておりますが、すいません、明日がですね、私自分のワークショップを入れてたのもうっかり忘れておりまして、午後がいないのと午前中に会議が突然入りまして、拷問の会議が入りましたので、すいませんが、淳さんにすごいお任せして行ってしまいますが、できる限りのことはしますので、よろしくお願いします。Sorry, I have to attend a meeting tomorrow morning, and in the afternoon, I have my own workshop. I forgot about that. My own workshop with Naoko. So I will attend the other workshop tomorrow. So I will attend the middle second version, a second time. How to do it? Session 2 of day 2 tomorrow.
I see. Thank you for doing all of this arrangement in spite of your busy schedule.
Sorry. Thank you.
At this point, can I have Atsushi take a photo of my email address?
Yes, I'm showing now.
Okay. For those of you who might have any questions, my email address is there, and I believe you have Nana's email address. So any questions or concerns that you might have that are not voiced during the Zoom session, please feel free to ask your questions. And in Japanese or English, either would be fine, using that at any time. Can I now ask individuals who are participating to say your name and maybe a question that you might have, or a request, or perhaps maybe a motive for attending this workshop? Anything that comes to mind is fine. Is it okay if I ask Tomoko? Tomoko, can you tell us who you are, and maybe a question or concern, or maybe a reason for taking this workshop, or and feel free to speak in any language. Could be Japanese or could be English. Would that be okay? Tomoko?
Hi. Bobby-san, thank you for having me to your workshop.
Thank you.
こんにちはじゃなくて、おはようございます。ワシントン智子と申します。保険コンサルタントをしております。ロビンさんのパンはもう大好きで、ずっと作り方を習いたかったので、今回このワークショップ受けることができて嬉しいです。ありがとうございます。
Thank you. Okay. Do you have any questions or requests at this point? Tomoko, does anything come to mind?
これ、my kitchen scale is tiny, so I wasn't able to like put the ball on top of it. It's gonna be too heavy. So is it okay? Like I can just measure the ingredient and then put in a bowl.
Yes.
That's
Good.
okay.
Good. Right. Good. Definitely. Your figuring out some kind of alternative is a, a, a good kind of exercise for this. And it shows everybody that even though the supply list might be such and such, you can always make adjustments. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And then I don't have a Dutch oven.
Yes.
So
Oh,
okay.
yes, yes, yes. Okay. Everybody can see that the pot that Tomoko is holding up has uh, a cover handle. The handle of the cover and the handle of the pot all can go into the oven, uh, and that's wonderful. Some pots or many pots have plastic handles that um, might change shape in the heat of the oven. So yes, in answer to your question, Tomoko, that is a very good utensil to use.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, let's see. Oh, there was Hitomi Davis. You came in early. Can you tell us who you are, Hitomi, and any questions or concerns or requests that you might have?
Hi, this is Hitomi Davis. Thank you for inviting us for making a workshop. I was watching yesterday YouTube how to make sourdough.
Good.
It really looks good, delicious.
Ah,
I think.
yes, good, good.
Question. Just to let us know what we need tomorrow, then before start workshop, as I can prepare.
Good, good, good. Okay, that's a good question. And let me start an answer to your question. Tomorrow, we're going to do three things, mainly three things for the starter that you started with today. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to feed it again. And that will require the scale once again. We're going to measure out more flour and more water. So we're going to feed our starter tomorrow. And that will be actually necessary before our Zoom session. I'll give you more details in a moment, but that's going to be one of the things that we're going to be doing. We're feeding the starter, and at the same time, we're going to be preparing more flour and water on the side of that. And then our Zoom session will start. Our Zoom session will start at 11 o'clock tomorrow and will require a large mixing bowl and a spatula and or spoon to mix it with, and some kind of covering. It could be a shower cap, or it could be cling film to cover the large mixing bowl. Our second session tomorrow will require a shallow glass container like a Pyrex bowl, like this. And so that you can prepare in advance of tomorrow as well. We'll also need a small bowl of flour just for dipping our hands into, or a small bowl as well. So nothing really complicated for tomorrow's session. We will not need the Dutch oven until a day after tomorrow, day 3. So day 2 will be fairly simple, I think. We'll be doing those things. One other thing that we'll be using at the 4 o'clock session tomorrow will be what I call a bench scraper. It could be something like what I have in my hand here. It could be something like a plastic scraper that I have, this white scraper that I have.
When can I buy? That's a plastic one?
The plastic one can be bought at maybe a Complete Kitchen. It could be, I'm pretty sure that Walmart or Target will have something that you can use. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. What's important is that you have a straight edge that you can use to scrape things off the table with.
ちなみに私はお好み焼きのあれでやってます。
お好み焼き。So in Osaka, they use
お好み焼き。
お好み焼きヘラ。And what I have in my hand, in my right hand here, is used by masons who work with cement and putty and such. So this that I have in my hand was purchased at Walmart in the hardware section, where they have cement and, I don't know, grout and other things that are used in construction. So what it is does not really matter, but what does matter is that you have a straight edge and a flat surface. This straight edge and flat surface is going to be important tomorrow because the dough that we're working with has a high water content, which will be very important for our final product to have a high water content, but it's very sticky to the hands, and it can get very messy and frustrating if you do not have preparation. But I will show you as we start to work with these what I mean by that. So in answer to your question, some kind of flat straight edge, looking something like this, this masonry tool, or something like this plastic scraper would be fine. Or if you have okonomiyaki hera, if you're from Osaka,
or Hiroshima.
I think Atsushi has one in his back pocket all the time. Hiroshima.
In my wallet.
Right. Yeah. So that is all that we'll need. Basically, I'll give you more details later, and I might have forgotten something, but I hope that answers your question. Okay. Let's see. Who else is here? Yuki is. Let's see. Oh, Mami? Do you have a question, or can you tell us who you are and whether you have any questions or concerns or requests or motive for taking this workshop? Mami?
このメタルのしかないんですけど大丈夫です。
Beautiful. That's perfect.
プラスチックのやつがないんですけど大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫です。That's beautiful.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Do you have any other questions or concern?
Okay, 大丈夫です。
Okay, good. And then oh, is that Kae? Is that you, Kae?
Hi.
Oh, hello, Kai. Um,
あ
can
りが
you?
とうございました。
Thank you, thank you. Can you tell us, tell everybody who you are and whether you have a question or concern, request, or reason for taking this workshop?
これですが、冷蔵庫に入れて、3時間経ったら冷蔵庫に入れて、明日は何時に出せばいいですか？
Okay. Let me start with your first part. これを let's see, 冷蔵庫にまだ入れないで、このまま、これから、まあ、これが倍ぐらいになると、冷蔵庫に入れるんです。それまでは、カウンタートップ、テーブル、room temperature.
常温ですね。
I'm sorry? What?
常温。
常温。
Yeah, room temperature.
室内の温度。
Right. Thank you. Yeah, 常温で置いておくんです。Okay, so when you see that this dough goes up above the rubber band, so that this dough doubles in size. When it's 2 times this size, then you put it into the refrigerator. And so it might take 2 hours, it might take 3 hours, we don't know. But this will be our clock. And so, so we'll be looking at this today, and when it gets to about twice the size, so I think of this, if this were a clock, and we thought in terms of time, I would call this これが2倍の時。
はい。冷蔵庫。
つまり2倍時に冷蔵庫に入れるんです。
明日は、明日。
Right. 明日は朝9時
に
出すんです。
はい。
Yes. And then I'll explain in more detail in a moment. But 朝の9時に出して、再び、餌っていうかな、あげるんです。We'll be giving this more food tomorrow at 9 o'clock before the first Zoom meeting. So I'll be giving you more details in a moment. That might be considered to be like homework, but I'll tell you what that is. Okay, so tomorrow morning, in answer to your question, we'll be taking out of 冷蔵庫から、出すのは朝午前9時、9 o'clock, 9時. Yes. I think Atsushi has that on the screen right now. Can you look at the screen that Atsushi is photographing, day 2?
So tomorrow's session will start at 11.
Correct.
So okay, so we have to put out the dough before we start the session.
Correct.
Okay.
And before the session, you'll be doing a few more things at the same time, right? So tomorrow morning before the 11 o'clock session, there is homework. Yeah.
わかりました。ありがとうございました。皆さんどうぞよろしくお願いします。
こちらこそ. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Let's see. Hitomi. I asked you already.
So Yuki-san.
Yuki.
Yuki-san, yes. Hello, Yuki-san.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yuki. Hello, Yuki.
はじめまして。今日はありがとうございました。
Thank you. Can you tell us who you are and what your, if you have a question or request?
明日の朝9時に
Yes.
冷蔵庫から出してまた餌やりっていうんですか？
Yes, yes.
このグラム数は後で教えてもらえるんですか？
Hi. I will, since we have Atsushi taking a photo of the amounts that we'll be using, let me explain what we'll be doing tomorrow morning. Remember, this is before the Zoom session at 11 o'clock. And 2 hours before the 11 o'clock Zoom session at 9 a.m., 9 o'clock in the morning, I need you to take the starter out of the refrigerator and feed it 10 grams of water and 10 grams of flour. "10 grams of water, 10 grams of flour." Equal amounts of flour and water is going to be what we will be feeding until every time. Okay. Mix that into a small bowl and cover it and wait until 11 o'clock. Next to that, in a larger bowl, you're going to mix 325 grams of flour, 325 grams, and water, 253 grams, together with 7 grams of salt. Atsushi is taking a photo of that now for us. Large mixing bowl. And flour, water, and salt in those amounts. Mix, 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 mix until everything is equally mixed. And then cover
Sorry,
that.
I can't see the water. How much is that? 253?
253.
253.
253. Oh, 253. 253. の水と7グラムの塩。
So we keep separate for those two, right?
Right. Atsushi is asking, do we keep those two separate? Yes, there's a small mixing bowl and a large mixing bowl we keep separate. The small mixing bowl will have the starter from the refrigerator with a little bit of flour and a little bit of water. The large mixing bowl will have...
Sorry, I made a mistake. ごめん、あつしさん、これ2つのボウルに、
はい。
10グラムの水と10グラムの強力粉をジャーの方に混ぜて、で、大きなボウルの方に325グラムの強力粉と253グラムの水と7グラムの塩を混ぜたものを用意するっていう、そういう意味でしょうか。
スターターとでっかいボールは別々にして11時まで待ってください。
はい。
大丈
夫。いや、ごめんなさい。画面からだけだとちょっと分かりにくかったので、
そうですね。
はい、はい。ちょっと私の、すいません。なんだ、チャットのところに書いたのが間違っちゃったんで、もう一回書きます。 スターターの方に。
はい
10ぐらいの。あ、じゃあこれ後で E メールで皆さんに送りますね。後でやります。はい。
Oh, we have a secretary. Thank you.
Well, Rogi-san, maybe add one thing. So, like water and flour, 10 grams each. We mix first, right? Then after we mix, we put into the
Oh,
starter step. That's better.
Okay. With these small amounts of flour, water, and the starter in the small bowl, yes, you can mix the flour and the water first, and then mix in the starter. That's fine. Yes, yes.
Then that's maybe avoid any
Lumps.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So it means a small bowl and a large bowl.
Yes,
And you need no more jar, right?
right. We empty the jar.
Got it.
No more jar.
Question.
Question.
So after you mix it in a small bowl, like starter and water and flour, do you put the cover or how you keep in a room temperature or a fridge? How you gonna keep it until 11 o'clock?
Good. Room temperature, covered is best.
Okay.
Both of those bowls will be kept at room temperature. Both will have a cover. Thank you, Tomoko.
Thank you.
Oh. How are we doing, Nana? We have oh, how about Junko? Junko, hi. Can you
Yes.
tell us who you are and any concerns, questions, requests?
Hi, thank you so much for today. I'm Junko Munakata. So I don't have a starter kit, but I just want to watching how to do it.
Okay, sure. You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for coming on board. Are you in Honolulu?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yoroshiku.
Never.
Thank you. So please feel free to chime in, especially if you do not have a starter kit on your own. You might be able to come up with a better view of what we're doing and have good questions that everybody
Okay.
ask to. So thank you. Anytime, please chime in. And Atsushi, you have any questions, requests, or concerns?
Oh, okay. I come
Okay, Atsushi.
here.
Atsushi appeared. Okay.
打足になるかもしれない。さっきの 10g、10g 水と小麦粉を先によく混ぜてからスターターに入れるのがいいと思います。いっぺんに全部入れちゃうとダマができちゃうかもしれないので、一応そのステップを踏んでいただいて、でさっき言ってました。常温で11時までそのまま置いといてもらって。他はないか。That's tomorrow's first.
Okay.
ちえみちゃんは先に出たようですね。Maybe ちえみ left earlier. ゆきさんごめんなさい。なんか話途中だったかもしれないですけど、ゆきさんもホノルルですよね。
Ah, good. Yeah, I cannot tell who you are. Hi,
Yeah, could be.
Yuki-chan.
そう、ゆきさんは今回初参加というか、私たちも初めて仲間に入っていただいてありがとうございます。よろしくお願いします。
All the better. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。
And questions from Nana? Do you have any questions or requests or anything that you want to?
Yes, なんかもし質問があったら、if you have some questions, please send us email. So Robin Sensei has his email on the board, or I will send you his email, and I also accept your email. Oh, here. なんか横向き。But Robin F at hawaii.edu がロビン先生のコンタクトです。なので、明日まででも、明日の後でも、質問があったらいつでもどうぞご連絡ください。
質問なんですけど、ブレッドフラワーは別にふるったりしなくていいんですよね。そのまま使っちゃって大丈夫。Like the blade flower?
Oh, I see. No, right. Just そのまま。そのまま。
You can just use it. Like, what do you call like a shot? だっけなんだっけ
Sifter.
Don't have to. Shift.
Right.
We don't have to do that. はい。
Right. When you are measuring by weight, when you're measuring by weight, you don't have to worry so much about sifting. When you measure by volume, like cups, sifting becomes more important in order to get accurate measurements. Also, I think you can trust the flour that we have purchased here. What kind of flour do you have, Tomoko? Oh, wow. Okay. Is that Kyoriki? What does that?
Kyoriki ko from Nijiya.
Good. Right. Kyoriki ko is excellent.
Strong power.
Excellent. Good. Thank you. If you have all-purpose flour like Kae-san, right? All-purpose flour, that is okay too. However, when we add water tomorrow morning, add a little bit less water. So our water is 253 gram. Maybe tomorrow morning, instead of 253 gram, add maybe 240 gram. And then also, if anybody is using all-purpose flour instead of the bread flour or kyoriki ko, if you're using hakuriki ko, then also when we're doing a kind of yoga tomorrow, do as much of that as you can. You'll need to exercise that flour more. So I will tell you how to do that tomorrow. And yours is a good case because we don't always have the exact ingredients that we want. So any kind of wheat flour is okay. What we have is a baseline in our workshop. And if one thing like the flour is different, we can adjust several other things to make it come back to the baseline. So don't worry, but we can make adjustments. So I will help you tomorrow, Kai, when it comes to more exercise for your flour. It's going to need a little bit of a different treatment, but no problem. It's a good kind of practice to make adjustments all the time. Okay, thank you. Thank you for asking about the flour. Any other questions about the flour? Okay. Let me now on this subject of making adjustments, tell you about what Atsushi did the other day. He came to visit us when my wife and I were staying at Makaha, and we did not have all of our favorite equipment. But Atsushi went out into the ocean and got salt water from the ocean, and we made bread with that salt water. And how did that come out, Atsushi?
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says it came, yeah,
Very
and
tasty.
I agree. I agree. It came out fine. Right? So even if you're at camp and you don't have a Dutch oven, or you don't have a digital scale, or you don't have your favorite spatula, or your mixing bowl, or no matter where you are, you can probably kufu, improvise, kufu shinagara, right? You can probably make very delicious bread for everybody. But in our workshop, we're learning the baseline, just this standard. You know? And if Kai, for example, if Kai-san has all-purpose flour, we can adjust, accordingly with temperature and water amounts and all kinds of things. No problem, no problem. So little differences from the supply list or the equipment that we have. Little differences are very small problems. Kai, do you have a question?
Oh, she's showing something.
Oh,
かえさん、あ、
この方がいいです
Kai-san,
この方がいいですか
Atsushi, what is that? Is that kyoriki?
そうそう
Kyoriko? Kyoto. You're right.
こっちの方がいいです
Ah, wow, that's organic.
Organic.
Yuki.
better than
Yuki.
which better one?
Kyoriki kyo. Kyoriki ko is better.
Better. Okay.
Wow, you have organic bread flour. That's wonderful. Yes, so tomorrow morning, use the kyoriki ko. Yeah, for everything. That's wonderful. Kyoriki ko has higher protein. Higher protein makes the dough more thirsty. It needs more water. And is easier to work with. It won't get sticky as much. And will rise higher because it's stronger. Now the kyoriki was stronger. It's more like Atsushi, very
Over here.
Right. So the Yuki no kyoriki ko is the best you can use. Right. That's wonderful. That's better than this flour.
Time is past, flying. Can we
So,
explain about this?
Yes. Okay.
We talk about the first one.
Okay. So Atsushi wants to make sure we understand what to do tomorrow. Okay. Before that, today, let's see. This that we worked on today, when this level of dough comes up here, so that it's twice the height of this rubber band, we're going to put this into the refrigerator until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. At 9 a.m., we're going to take this out of the refrigerator and feed it 10 grams of water, 10 grams of flour in a small mixing bowl. Cover and wait until Zoom session at 11. In a separate bowl, a large mixing bowl, we're going to mix flour, water, and salt in these amounts. Mix well, cover, and wait until Zoom session at 11 o'clock. So 2 hours before the Zoom session, you'll be doing these two things. Question? Okay, I think we're off to a good start. Can I end, however, with one request? In our first day of our 3-day workshop, would you please do something for me? I want you to name your starter. Please give your starter a name. It's silly, but for me, it's important. You can always change your name. You don't have to tell me what name you give it. You don't even have to use the name at all. But as we end this session, please think of a name for this starter. My starter's name, for example, is Barney. So my wife gets jealous because I give Barney too much attention sometimes. But it's almost like a person when I give it a name. And I want you to shift your thinking as much as possible during this workshop to thinking of this as some kind of relationship that you're just beginning. You're beginning a relationship, taking care of it, right? Feeding it, making it warm, right? Giving it a name, like a baby almost. Starting a relationship that is not only going to give you a good loaf of bread on Thursday, but it's also going to be hopefully a relationship that grows over time. No? So please humor me by giving this a name today. No? And with that, I want to thank you all for your kind attention and participation. And please continue thinking about questions and problems that you might have, as that is the main purpose of this Zoom interactive sourdough workshop. Oh, one more thing. I just remembered. Sourdough, the name sourdough is a little misleading. The bread that comes out of your oven on Thursday will not be sour. Okay. I don't know why they call it sourdough. Because most of the time when we bake bread in this way, most of the time it's not sour. You can control the level of sourness, but it does not have to be sour. Sometimes you cannot tell if there's any kind of acid inside. So I wanted to tell you that earlier. So thank you all for your kind attention. And we have homework today. When this at Nibaiji, when this comes up to double the size, then we'll put this in the refrigerator until 9 a.m. tomorrow. So the next time I see you on Zoom will be at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, and if you have any questions until then, email me at robinf@hawaii.edu, what you had earlier. Or email Nana if you're afraid of emailing me. Nana is so good. Thank you, Nana. And then, or email or message Atsushi. Yeah, he's always a riot, and he'll understand what you're experiencing. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Okay, we're gonna end this session now. Bye-bye. Bye.
ありがとう。
Yeah, thank you.